boys and girls and children of all ages, live from this live stream. We are Gang Saves Humanity with your hosts, Heidi, and your window dressing, James Ellers.
Yes.
It's the beauty.
Thank you for that intro.
You're welcome. I have the perfect face for radio, so.
Me too. Me too. So what's up, everyone? We are back. We have not been, we've been taking care of a lot of quarantine business, so we're back. As requested, my name is James Ellers. As always, we have Heidi with us here. We also have James Treacle, Aarika, Jason, and Fred the Felon. So we have everyone in here today. So the main reason we wanted to get together and have this conversation is because Congress is kind of dropping the ball on many, many fronts.
For the first time.
For the first time ever.
Ever.
Like they're 13-year-olds going through puberty.
Exactly. It's amazing. So not only are they were supposed to be back on the 20th, they pushed it back to May 4th, but we need to push them to increase the stimulus for everyone and extend it for the duration of the UBI. So somebody's. All right, if you guys aren't talking, please mute yourself.
I had the YouTube video going on my phone.
Damn it, Heidi. I'm just kidding. So we are working on a few different things to help or urge Congress, kind of push them to increase the stimulus and make it for every month through the end of the crisis, however long that can be. Because some people are saying without a like any kind of immunization for it, then it can be a year or two. So, Aarika, do you want to go over how we kind of got to this point, kind of where we were talking and this whole thing came from?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome. And I appreciate you guys for having this because it's really important. And so what happened was we were doing a Yang thing and we were talking about the stimulus checks and agreeing that this is kind of like a Band-Aid and that we need to have something that is going to be long lasting. And we can all agree that Andrew definitely put UBI on the table, even though it was Martin Luther King and Thomas Paine's idea. And so the idea came out about why don't we put pressure onto Congress to fight for UBIs because we're going to need a new bill and they have the power to set it up and pass it. And so collectively, there's a whole group of us that thought it'd be really cool if we just kind of continue to move the UBI movement forward. And so that's where we have the petition. We're going to tweet out to Congress. And so anyway, we have a brainstorm of ideas. I think we're going to go into depth about what this all looks like, but it originated from a Yang Tank.
Yes, thank you for that recap. So again, we were just hanging out on a Yang Gang hang and it randomly turned into a project. Of course, wasn't even planned, which is awesome. So now we have a petition out there. The petition is, again, for everything we're talking about, for them to increase and extend the stimulus package to Americans every month with the hopes of, hey, do an emergency stimulus of $2,000 and then have it eventually, when the crisis is over, just turn into a permanent UBI at a lower amount. So that's what we're doing. So the petition already has over 5,000 signatures, largely thanks to Fred. So Fred, thanks for joining us. Anything you wanna go over on this? How you got involved? I mean, you've done a lot of the legwork.
Just that I was able to get the message over to Andrew. I mean, it really wasn't anything I did other than I met Andrew and got his number. I mean, Andrew did all the work. I mean, he tweeted it out. And, I mean, we got 5,000 within that first day or whatever. So if you haven't signed the petition, just go to Andrew Yang's Twitter. It's going to be there. It's a stimulus package for 2,000 for everyone, and then UBI, obviously.
Hell yeah. So thank you again, Fred, for everything you're doing. Sorry.
What was that, Fred?
No, So yeah, I was gonna say just go to Andrew Yang's page, his Twitter page, and I would assume they put it in the links below after this is done as well. But the petition's there. Make sure you sign it, and then please retweet that as well after you sign it.
So I wasn't a part of the Zoom call where you guys came up with this, but I'm going to kind of try and summarize what I understand is going on. It's kind of a bigger campaign to keep the UBI movement going. I mean, this is the literal opportunity to push for it. The Yang Gang had a lot of power during the primary, and we can show that we are still here, that we still do own the internet, and that we can push for something, that we can push Congress members and senators. We can work with, other, like Bernie Sanders supporters, other, groups of people that are politically active, and that we can all come together in this campaign to push Congress and Senate in passing this new stimulus measure. And it's actually, there's, from what I understand, there's several parts to it. There's the petition, and this is where I'm going to hand it over to James. There's also a video that he's working on. James, you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so I got pulled into this also out of the blue because I was not a part of the Zoom call in which all this shenanigan was planned. But essentially, this is our, at least for me, this is the first thing that I felt like, oh, we're kind of getting the game back together. We're trying to utilize that same kind of power that we had working with the actual Yang 2020 campaign. Well, this time, since we don't have the campaign proper, we are inventing the materials ourselves. So that includes the hashtag, that includes the petition, it includes the video campaign, which I'm working on, that Jason and I wrote a script, and we have several people record accordingly. And I am now combining all that, and we're going to try to make something that's sleek and professional and punches at weight with the kind of stuff that they were doing during the campaign, or maybe that we wish they were doing during the campaign. We'll put it that way. And I think that if we get the gang behind this, we can get serious traction. We know that we have the talent. We know that we have the passion. And this is a incredibly unique and uniquely desperate moment. So let's do this.
Can I add to what you just said, James?
Go ahead.
I think it's really important to acknowledge, and I love the fact that you use the word passion, is that we are a passionate group of people. We are so dynamic, and we have done remarkable things. And this is an opportunity for us to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. And we are great at using our voices for the betterment of people and the whole humanity first movement. And so that is why we are encouraging every single person to be active and get involved and to use their voice, not just on social media, but in their communities. And if we can get this going in Congress, passes UBI in the Senate, that's going to do wonders for Andrew and our movement come to 2024. And there are so many families and individuals that would benefit from having $2,000 a month and $500 for their children or their child. So we really need to unite right now to make this happen. And Ellers is going to go into when we're dropping it, but I just want to encourage every single person that this is going to be a team effort. It's a total team effort, but we can absolutely do this, and we can absolutely make this happen.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Aarika and James. So if you're not following James on YouTube yet, his YouTube is his last name's Treacle Up and then Up. So Treacle Up. So if you're not following him yet on YouTube, please subscribe. He's awesome. He puts out awesome content. And as far as the release of the video go, we're looking at the 18th or the 19th, James?
Yeah, the 19th, because originally Congress was supposed to be back in session on the 20th. So we were trying to head them off of the pass and get this out there so we can give them a kick in the pants. Apparently, they're delaying coming back until the 4th because I guess they just have better things to do. But we're still planning, I believe, on releasing on the 19th. I know I'm working towards that right now. So, yeah, if that's still the plan, let's do it.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I think we stick with that plan mainly because I mean we can't let more time go by without action, right? I mean, they need to get their asses back in session and working because the one-time payments of $1,200 that was means tested and isn't really applied to everyone just is grossly inadequate. And that's just on the personal side. On the other side of the business side, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but the small business funds in the Paycheck Protection Program, all those funds are gone already. Like businesses can't apply for those funds anymore. So everything they did, like it's a step in the right direction, but I think it says a lot about Andrew's policies that, hey, we need these things to not be means tested. We need it to be a monthly recurring thing. And right now, again, Andrew got it about 80% of the way, and we just need to get it the rest of 20 is kind of where we're at. So we have the petition already. James is gracious enough to help us out with the video. So he's going to be dropping that, I think, the 19th. So keep an eye out on that. Again, subscribe to his YouTube channel if you haven't yet already. And then there's more things in the future too, because this isn't just a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. I mean, I've had people come to me that are working on plans like, hey, if this goes on a few more months without them creating action, we could do a bankruptcy strike, or like there's so many different things that Yang Gang's coming up with that like we are going to make something happen. Like that's what we're going to do. So what do you think about that, Jason?
Oh, I can have an opinion now. Cool. I didn't do anything but the intro.
Let me mute your mic.
Mute my mic? Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
But no, I personally think it's like a great idea. I mean, we spent $2 trillion to do pretty much nothing for everyone. And I think it's time we actually spend $2 trillion to do something for someone, at least, you know. I mean, the fact that we're already out of money for it is just sad and just fucked up in a way. So, wait, am I allowed to swear?
You can do whatever you want. You're
Okay.
Jason.
On YouTube? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
You can do whatever your heart.
I think that it's important to stress that the time to strike to like implement a campaign like this is now. Like literally less than a week ago, the Pope came out in support of UBI. You know, we can't let that moment go to waste. We can't, you know, I hate to say that we can't let a moment like a pandemic go to waste, but this shows why we absolutely need these things. And I feel bad for Andrew, because he is out there like busting his tail, still doing this work. He's talking to anyone that will listen to him. He's and my personal opinion is I feel like the guy has done his share, right?
It's like he predicted this thing almost. You know? Like he's from
but we need to back him
back in
up.
time.
Yeah, we have, you know, and I'm not trying to like overinflate who we are, but we do have, you know, we are like the link that Andrew posted today, this article, this New York Times, I think, article, or where he was saying like Joe Biden doesn't have the internet. You know, is this a bad thing? And Andrew's like, well, the Yang Gang could help. You know, he's just volunteering us for Joe Biden. But it's for me, it was a reminder. Like we did some really big things during the campaign. Like Andrew, Andrew was the head of this movement, but the Yang Gang is what got him to where he was. And we need to still be pushing, like we need to still be owning the internet. We need to still be working together and creating these big campaigns, and not necessarily depending on Andrew to lead it even, you know, like he is doing work. He's doing a lot of work. We need to help him. We need to help the movement, honestly, with or without him. But I think he's still with us. But we have, you know, this is something we can do, and we should not let the opportunity, and we should not let our collective power go to waste.
I mean, we overtook Iowa, for God's sake. So, I mean, certainly we can overtake Congress. they're a lot, they're a lot older and a lot less armed.
What's
Some of
that?
the-
Fred's
Oh.
back to get back in.
Oh, okay. Should I let him back in? Welcome
Welcome
back,
back.
Fred.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was in some tough territory.
It's all good. I wanted to hear what the tough territory was, but yes. So
It's
to build
Atlanta.
on,
It's all tough.
it's all tough. I agree. So just to build on what Heidi was saying, I mean, and the thing is, like, people are legitimately suffering right now, and it's just the beginning. I feel like, I mean, James, I think you posted the other day you have a grandparent in a nursing home somewhere. That
Yeah, it's my girlfriend's grandpa is in a nursing home in Oklahoma City, and there is a confirmed case in that home, and that means that there's more than one. We know how this virus operates, so it's he just got back from another unrelated hospital stay, and so he's 94. This is terrifying for vulnerable populations, and it's terrifying for everybody else too. I mean, the more that we learn about this, the scarier it gets. And my feeling on how all this is played out is that we are still deeply in denial, like where we're craving normalcy. And I think that's what we're seeing with all these riots. Are like, let's go back to work, isn't even yet truly about the economy, because like people are feeling the pinch, but the pinch hasn't really started to sit in yet for a lot of people. It hasn't dawned on them that like, oh no, we're not going back to normal maybe for a couple years, maybe more. Like we're entering a new normal, and it's been just foisted on us, and it's the wave is just beginning. We saw that tonight with Trump at his press conferences talking about like, oh, cases have peaked. It's like no, testing has peaked. We've reached peak testing that we can actually do right now, which means the exponential curve of the infections is significantly higher than that. We're in this for the long haul. And, this is because of the character of the Yang Gang. I think we're uniquely cut out for this. We're used to being underdogs. We're used to long odds. And I think since we're in this situation in which people really see how important just having cash in your pocket is, and that we would reject a paradigm which is just going to value us purely based on our work when you can't go to work. You couldn't have asked for a more unfortunately perfect moment to drive this message home. So this is going to take everything we've got. But I think, this is just the beginning. This is just the start. We're looking at, I mean, even with pushing towards 2024, this situation that we're in, this is going to be long-term campaigning. The campaign didn't stop, not really, because we're not just trying to put somebody in the White House. We're trying to save this country. We're trying to create a better future. So all that energy,
humans valued as humans.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like we have all these fundamental things that we need to fix, and they're still not fixed. And until they are, we're not done.
And I also think that this pandemic showed what is not working in this country, and that is income inequality. So if you look at like education, you have kids that were unable to transition from being inside a classroom to distant learning simply because they do not have internet, they don't have the technology. So what that does is that increases the learning gap, and it kind of ends up suppressing, our low income students. And that widens that achievement gap. So now they've been out of school since, let's say, March, and then they're going to fall into the summer. Just the summer alone pushes kids behind in math and reading. But I think it's like by a couple of months already, like they lose those reading skills. So what happens to all of those? So personally, why I'm so grateful for all of you and everyone else that was in the Yang Hang that night that was inspired to do this is it kind of just shows the importance of taking care of everyone, no means testing, and it exposed income inequality at the forefront of like why we need to have money, disposable income available for everyone. And those that actually don't need, let's say, their disposable income, those are the people that are already stepping up and donating to food banks and doing other things for other people. So the whole thing about not everyone should get it. Well, the people that do have disposable income already, they are doing great things for the people that are on the front lines, our local heroes. So that money actually gets reinvested back into our low income communities.
Absolutely. Like a point I make is when people are like, well, I'm just not going to cash a check or I'm going to give it back. We can't donate to the government for one, but fine, don't cash it. They're going to buy another pack of pens with it. Right. I worked for the government for most of my adult life. I got to watch them spend a whole lot of money on stupid stuff that was overpriced. Sat in closets, warehouses, whatever, never got used. The best place for this money is in people's hands. So no, I totally agree with you. And I think I want to thank you. You're a teacher. You're one of our essential people right now. A lot of us are, we're kind of hanging out, waiting to see what's going on, and you are still doing your job. You're still on the front lines, even if it's, like you said, on a computer trying to. And I don't know what grade you teach. What grade do you teach?
I teach 5th and 6th grade math and science.
Okay.
And someone actually put in they asked, do I like internet teaching? No. There's something about kids being in a classroom and they're deeply impacted. Like they're missing that social interaction, and the hands-on approach is not as effective, in my opinion, doing it online. So, and then there's like all the kids that are not able to do their graduations and all those monumental moments that we remember for our lifetime. So we're definitely living in unprecedented times. It's a historic moment. But when you say that you guys are just sitting here, that's not true. All of you guys are working on the movement. You guys are investing your time in doing something that's going to benefit a lot of other people. Like that video, I already know it's going to go viral, and that's going to help. If this gets passed, it's because of you guys doing this, right? So I think everyone in the Yang Gang is essential, and I don't think anyone is better than anyone else.
And to add to that, I just wanted to say, when you call your representatives, I think it's very important that you have a plan for your call. And one of the things I would recommend is do some research in your state. Like, for example, if I was in Michigan, I would talk about they're having like protests in Michigan because people are in such dire need that they feel like they have to go to work, and they're having these protests. So if I was, I'm going to do some research in Arizona, but I would research in Arizona or, in Michigan or whatever state you're in, and then make sure when you do your call that you're prepared and that you actually, talk in a manner that people are going to listen to.
Absolutely, Fred. I wanted to kind of take a step back to something that James Treacle was talking about. Now, I've called James the messaging king. I'm a huge fan. I love you, James. But something that you were talking about, like us being out of work, like our society, like America or the world being shut down for up to 2 years. One of Andrew's points was like with automation coming, we're going to have to get used to a world where there just is not, maybe not, there's not work, but there's less work. We've accelerated that, right? And you said people are getting antsy. How do you see this playing out in the next 2 years? Something Andrew saw coming in 10 or more years is now like on our doorstep. What do you think is going to happen?
So this is why I created that video on my channel on workism, because I think, and this is kind of a messaging issue that I felt kind of intuitively with the campaign, but I couldn't put my finger on it for a long time. And that I think it's like, it's in the book. It's in the War on Normal People. At least it's in, you know, a lot of the subtext of the book, that like people are deriving their meaning from their work. And this is why automation feels like a threat. It's not that automation is the enemy. And you saw a lot of confusion when people were like, oh, you know, Andrew's like the anti like robots guy. Like he's warning us about the robots. Like, no. He's saying that the robots are coming and this can either be a good thing or a bad thing. And we decide what we make of this crisis. Automation is a pro-human thing. Automation is a blessing for the entire society and for people who do high risk and manual labor jobs, and even, you know, just like number crunching kind of clerical work. It could just eliminate call centers. I worked in a call center. Fuck call centers. Automate that shit, please. You know,
I agree.
All of these things should be viewed as, you know, non-zero sum goods for the whole culture, but it doesn't feel that way because of workism. That is that we are deriving our value. We have to justify our existence by going to work. And so, and you notice that there's this little bait and switch when you say like, oh, automation, it's coming. We need to get UBI. People are like, oh, don't worry, there will be new jobs, as if that solves the problem, right? Because people have this intuition that, you know, oh, well, you're just worried about your job, your sense of meaning, your identity being taken away. And all of this trying to create jobs when maybe there just won't be jobs like that need to be done. Some of these things are just going to be obsolete in the future. Now, it might not be that way forever, but in all circumstances, in all places. But overall, we're seeing a huge movement away from certain kinds of labor. And this is just going to accelerate and accelerate and accelerate over time. And so identifying the right enemy, to me, is very important. And to me, the enemy is workism. It is this superstition that we have glommed onto, that this is who we are. What you do is who you are, not the fact that you're a human being and you have intrinsic worth. And then you can go out and do other things with your life. You can volunteer, you can raise a family, you can be a teacher, you can drive a truck, whatever is fine, but you are not your job. And it's interesting because we've seen flirtations with rejecting workism before. Like, hell, it's in Fight Club, right? But there's just like a mismatch in our culture. We've had this sense for a long time that something is wrong, but we can't quite put our finger on it. And I think Yang put his finger on it. And so we need to take advantage of this moment in which we're going to be feeling this profound dislocation, because wait a minute, the ideology that is deeply embedded in our culture that tells us where our meaning and our value comes from has been shown to be completely ill-suited to this moment. It cannot provide us with what we've been, expecting it to provide us with for a long time. And it was already like that, but now it is just so hyper accelerated, and we're not going to be able to ignore it anymore. So I think presenting automation as being a good thing is going to be very important, and identifying workism as the enemy is going to be very important, because we are going to be entering into, even after, let's say we get a vaccine tomorrow and we kill this fucking virus and everybody goes back to work. Well, not everybody's going to be going back to work. Corporations are already going to be working overtime to create the robots to replace as many essential workers as possible, and to prevent something like this from happening again, because they're going to be scared of another pandemic coming, because this happened once. Who says it won't happen again? This is going to be part of everybody's insurance, everybody's risk calculations. We are going to create a whole new paradigm that'll be minimizing human contact as much as possible in public spaces. That new world is going to be highly automated. That can either be scary or it can be incredibly liberating. It's up to us.
Absolutely. And I feel like this is something we can also be a leader on. Like Yang Gang already, we saw this stuff coming, right? And it's another opportunity. Like, we have this campaign, but we also have this broader opportunity to kind of help lead the way into this different kind of scary world. And, like I think it was Marcus Aurelius said the obstacle is the way. This is what we're going through. This is the way. This is what we kind of have to make a path out of, and we have to make the best of. And I think that Yang Gang is, uniquely positioned to be leaders helping with this. So thank you for that, James. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw a stat that, just building off of that, like Disney's losing $30 million a day. And
wow.
they just furloughed like 40,000 people in Orlando. Like companies can't afford to go back to do business the way they're doing before. Like we need these things in place now because things aren't going back to the way they were before. And then, if you just look at, hey, America is very, very vulnerable to a pandemic. Like you don't think there's people around the world like saying, hey, we want to take down America. Let's do this. There's so many reasons that we need these policies in place. Just not only like we need them in place for just surviving, and then we need to build on them to make it so people can thrive. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why I feel like it's so urgent on so many levels that it's like there's so many things going on that a lot of Andrew Yang's policies would solve them, like for the most part, which is pretty crazy. So,
and we need everyone. Just look at this group here talking to you. I'm South Louisiana born and raised, a veteran. I'm as different from probably James or Aarika as anyone. And here we are on this. What?
You just admitted you're from Louisiana.
Did I say that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's almost
I
as bad
live
as
in
admitting
South
you're from
Dakota,
Arkansas.
which I get points for neither because they're both coronavirus hotbeds right now. So, but where else do you see people that are just so we're on opposite ends of a spectrum coming together? There is a place for everyone here, right? And we need to, and part of this campaign needs to be bringing in everyone, bringing in everyone to help with pressuring Congress and the Senate, calling the representatives, show them how to trend hashtags like we do. It's got to be a group effort of everyone. All right, Jason, you've been quiet.
Sorry.
Never
I'm
quiet.
better with words than I am in person.
And that's Jason's part in this, and he's being quiet, but he has a pretty big part. He's literally he's our writer, our inspiration for how we're gonna make this sound, how we're literally gonna sell it to people. So I want to give him credit for being here, even though he's kind of sitting there in his corner.
I let Final Draft just kind of automate all the words for me, so it's all good.
You automated it? Wow.
Smart.
I know the way
So
Final Draft has gotten so smart with the programming and everything. I barely have to type a sentence before it finishes it for me. So.
All right, I take back everything I said.
Yeah, it was all Final Draft.
He's just shy, Jason. He's
amazing. This isn't exactly like a stand-up forum, so I don't have control of the audience
or anything like that.
So Aarika is saying, and this is definitely something we want to do. We want to take questions from the Yang Gang. We have this plan, we have what we want to do, but it's not. There's nothing set in stone. And the reason why we did this live was because we wanted to hear from the Yang Gang. We wanted, the Yang Gang is brilliant. The Yang Gang is who got Andrew, as far as he got in the primaries. And we want everybody's input on how we can make this work. So if you guys have any questions or any suggestions, I will be putting them up on the screen.
Yeah, these people, you're letting these people criticize me for not talking, but you guys are fucking sitting there watching us and not talking. What the hell's up with that? Come on.
Damn viewers. God.
Is it okay if I answer one of these questions?
Is that what you're saying? Sorry, you were cutting out. Yeah, go ahead.
So someone
I didn't even see the questions.
There's a lot of education questions, so I just want to use this opportunity to just answer a couple of them. And
go ahead.
So I personally don't think that the whole self-learning thing is as beneficial as when someone's working with a child, because they don't know what they're supposed to know, right? So they need guidance from someone. So I feel like I'm not a big fan of video games, but in educational video games, yes, like I'm for those. Obviously, you want to engage kids, but I think that there are so many ways that you can use your home to educate. So I'll just use a sixth grade math example, right? So my students built a fort out of blankets and sheets, and then
I did the same thing earlier.
and then they took a mirror and they did the indirect measurement approach to find the height of their fort, right? And that's everything that you have at home. So chairs, blankets, sheets, and a mirror. And the point is that was more meaningful than, them. They would never have known to do that, right? Had I not guided them in that direction. They would never have known that they could figure out the height of their fort with a mirror. Right. So I think that there has to be some independent work time. And I think that there has to be some guided instruction, or like parent led, in this case, instruction. So I think there needs to be a balance of both. And then there are a lot of parents in this chat, Heidi. You have a lot of parents that support your channel. I think that's so awesome. Someone asked about, or maybe I misread. Okay. But anyway. Yeah.
Self-learning just kind of sounds like this free-range parenting thing I've seen like on the internet, where they just like let their children like run wild.
But I think parents are in a unique situation because like they have their kids at home, they have to work, they they're like, I feel like parents are like heroes right now too. Like, yes, they're your kids, and so you have to like do it. I mean, you don't have a choice, but they're taking on so much right now. Heidi, you're a mom. What are you experiencing during this time?
Well, we're actually, I just moved and I can't get anyone to come out and set up internet. So I'm kind of experiencing, I think, with a lot of parents that maybe their kids were dependent on the school's internet to do their schoolwork. Like, I'm tethering my hotspot and moving it from window to window, trying to get a signal for my son to do his schoolwork. But I'm the teacher as well, like I have to, I make sure my son is up by 9 a.m. He is, doing his schoolwork. I make sure he's in the 10th grade. He takes breaks when he normally would take breaks. I mean, it's not something that's, it's not as hands off as it was before. So it's been a challenge. He's with his dad this week, and his dad has internet. So, but anyone that's having to do this right now, my heart goes out to them, because like I said, my son is 10th grade. It is less hands-on than it would be, but it's still, even in 10th grade, you still have to keep them on a schedule and stuff like that.
And that vision, like it's really bad for kids to be on the screen for long periods of time. So you also have to be cognizant of that. We don't want the kids looking at a screen nonstop. The pixels actually are damaging their eyes. Yeah. And like earbuds are also like, I don't encourage my students to use them because that's also impairing their hearing. So just a couple of other things to be mindful of with the distant learning. But that's a whole nother thing. I do want to use this as an opportunity to bring out the $500 for children. And maybe James, one of the James or Fred, could talk about why the $500 per kid is worth fighting for too. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, especially in a situation where a lot of the kids are having to work from home, and parents that, if people don't have money to set up internet at their house, then they're just not going to set up internet at their house or get school supplies or anything like that. So we need to include that in the emergency UBI, and it might even be something to look at in the permanent UBI at a lower rate. But right now, we just need to get the people the help they need, because the virus came here without anybody's like our general population bringing it here themselves. Like, it's something that was just thrown on them, and we need to help people any way we can. And especially the kid thing. Again, if I don't understand why internet isn't a utility yet. Like, I don't understand why.
A funny thing is, it is in like every other country in the world except for here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's insane. In today's day and age, it needs to be utility. And that might be another branch of this project we work on is internet as a utility. But it's super necessary. And one of the questions from Megan Brooks was, besides calling their reps and signing the petition, what can people be doing to help this campaign? Honestly, the campaign it's very fluid right now. If you have any recommendations or ideas for projects that we need to be doing, just let us know or start doing them. Or like it's just right now, it's anything and everything that we can do to get Congress to act and to put people first and stop giving all these bailouts to corporations before people. And so any help, like we're more than welcome. We're more than open. And thank you for, even participating in this video. It's huge.
I think the main thing is we want it to be a coordinated, like a striker, something like that, like a show of strength. Like their phone lines are getting hammered. With everybody calling them. Their Twitter feeds are getting clogged.
Video link posted by everyone to every.
We want to make sure everyone sees James' video. We want to make this like not just trend in the U.S. but trend worldwide, because we've done that. We have made worldwide trends. We can do it. We need to coordinate it.
Yeah.
We need to coordinate it.
Just like in all math, science, and everything else.
So, we actually have an advantage post Yang 2020, and that is, with the kind of disintegration of the primary field, now there are potential coalitions forming. We have lots of friends with the Tulsi people, even some Bernie people, even though there's been a lot of animosity there. And frankly, the longer this goes on, and the further we get away from all the heat of the primary, the more friends we are going to make. So the Yang Gang, or whatever it is that we end up kind of evolving into in this post-Yang 2020 environment, is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. As long as we are pushing, as long as we are bringing new people in. And so these pushes aren't just, all right, let's get our Yang people to boost this. We can share this with friends and family. And this is not about just our favorite guy who was running for president. This is about something that every American should be fighting for.
Yeah.
And
it's not a political campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to be. Like, we speak Yang Gang terms, we're all Yang Gang, we talk to each other, but it needs to be bigger than the Yang Gang. It needs to include everyone. Like I said, Andrew, as far as I'm concerned, he has done what he needs to do. If he retired tomorrow, I'd be sad. I would text him and beg him to come back, and he would leave me on red like he always does. But I feel like he's done
Heidi,
his
you brought
job.
The emotions.
I know.
What the hell's
I feel like, he's still going to be here. He's still going to be, doing his thing, but it's on us to build the big coalition and to bring everyone in to lead the way into this weird situation and this weird world we're finding ourselves in right now. Because we know about it. No one else does, like we literally
I'm pretty
have
sure
a head
everyone
start.
heard Andrew. It's just, when he put his finger on it and pressed, a lot of people said, ow, that hurts, let's run away. We're the people that how can we fix this after,
But there's a lot more than what most people saw. Like, I'm sure everyone here has read Andrew's book and have watched about 9,000 hours of YouTube interviews. And most people only got the surface impression. So that's why I say we're uniquely prepared, because these are the things he was saying were going to happen in a decade, 20 years. Let's prepare for them. They're happening now, right? So we are uniquely prepared to lead the way in this.
Right. And I want to encourage...
Sorry, I was going to say, UBI is hot right now. Everyone's talking about it. It's a real solution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Both from both parties, Republicans and Democrats. So
Let's push it.
The time to move the movement forward.
Yeah, we can't let Andrew do all the heavy lifting. Zeb Fortune is on every interview. Like, anyone that will talk to him, except for our podcast, he is on it and talking, and we need to back him up.
Yeah, and so the past couple days we've had bailout humans or bailout humans now trending at number 1. And this is not something that Yang Gang even touched until it was already happening. It was just whoa, okay. This is exactly the kind of stuff that we were moving mountains to do in the middle of the campaign, and now it's just happening spontaneously. There is a guy who did this burn on somebody who was anti-UBI and got over 120,000 likes for this dunk on an anti-UBI person. We're seeing a shift in the attitude towards these policies. And we have to mention Andrew to get traction here. All we have to do is focus on what people need. People need money. And
the Pope literally took a break from like touching little boys to like fucking push UBI. So I mean, this is a great thing.
Like the Easter Sunday address is one of the most important moments of the entire Catholic calendar, and to take a few minutes out of that and talk about the need for a guaranteed minimum income, that's huge. That is huge. And so this is a worldwide movement. This is a unique moment. It didn't really even I do think that it's right to say that, Andrew deserves a lot of credit for getting it into the U.S., conversation. But this did not really begin with us.
Beyond him.
It's well beyond it. So really, we are the wave. Whether we wanted to be or not, we are now. And we can either ride that and keep building it, or we can sit on the sidelines. And I know from how the Yang Gang has always been, we're going to be that wave.
Absolutely. Thank you, James. That was inspiring. And no, Andrew, we're not dumping you. We're just saying you can take a break. We got this if you want to, this movement needs to evolve, and it needs to welcome everyone.
We're transitioning from a monogamous relationship into an open.
We're opening up the relationship.
I like him.
So-
I want him to go away.
No, I don't want him to go away. But
So what happens for Andrew? What happens for Andrew when we get everything passed that he wants to get passed, and it's already 2024?
He can do whatever he wants.
He's gonna buy a house in Iowa and retire. He doesn't want to come back to Iowa.
My fear is that other people are going to run on all of these policies because they're the only ones that have proven to actually be useful in the pandemic.
That's not a fear. That's a bonus. That's a good thing. That's what he wanted. I do. You know what? We need to do our thing. If Andrew runs in 2024, we'll be prepared to jump in and support him. But we need to also if we still just even keep it so focused on Andrew, we can't. It's hard to build it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not cutting Andrew out of anything.
Do you think he's smart enough to come up with another 160 for
He probably will. He'll be like, give me some more problems, and I'll solve them. But that's what he wanted to do. He less wanted to be president than he wanted to address problems, right? And like I said, I feel like he's done his. If he walked away now, I wouldn't be mad. He's done his fair share. It's on us, guys. Like I said, we know what's coming. We've been for 2 years the weirdos talking about these conspiracy theories, and now this stuff is happening. People are hurting. We need to be on the front line, and we can't wait for Andrew or whoever to tell us what to do. Right? We need to just do the things. God, I hope Andrew's not watching this.
He probably is.
No,
he's crying.
He's crying. No, my biggest thing is that we've just from a personal standpoint, I've leaned on him so much up to this point. Even my whole run for Congress was mainly focused on Andrew Yang first, and then I followed it up after me, and that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. And if we can, whatever weight we can put on our backs, we will do it. And then if he wants to run in 2024, awesome. If not, he's already done a ton. He's already changed the world, literally. So I want to give him the flexibility to do whatever he wants to do. And obviously, whatever he wants to do, we will support. So what's up, Devin? So
Devin's eyes were scary.
I like Devin's eyes. Anything else before we start to wrap it up? Because we've already gone 49 minutes already. It doesn't even feel like that at all. So,
good sign.
Fred, you got anything?
No, I just want democracy reform. That's the biggest thing that, other than UBI, in 2024, we have to put we have to get rid of Citizens United. We have to have ranked choice voting, and we have to have democracy dollars. Those are like my biggest, the biggest things that I'm passionate about. Just because we have to get the grip from the two-party system off of our back, because if we don't, we're going to have a civil war, honestly.
I agree.
The
far left and the far right are,
Yeah, because
a standard for special
and
education.
it may be a situation, and this is somebody from a conservative background saying that I'm worried for the Democrat Party, because there's a specific wing of the Democrat Party now that if their wing doesn't win, which is the progressive left, they will not vote for anybody in the middle. So those people are going to cost us the election potentially. And if Donald Trump gets another 4 years, it'll be because people on the progressive left decided not to vote for Joe Biden. And I'm really having a hard time wrapping my mind around voting for Joe Biden.
That's how Trump got his first 4 years.
I'm like 50%. I'm 50% there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this two-party duality that is that's so far apart. It's not good for the country. And ranked choice voting has got to be like right at the top. As soon as we get UBI, it's got to be right there.
Absolutely.
That's down ballot candidates are so important. So we have like all these amazing people running for office, like Heidi, Jermaine, and so people have to vote them in.
They have what?
People have to vote them in. We have all these amazing down ballot candidates that are running for office, and if we want real change, we have to vote for people like that. We can't people status quo.
Your microphone's very low.
Yeah. We're cutting out.
Is it better? No?
Are we broken?
No?
No.
A little bit better.
I was saying that it's important because
I can only
It's not better. So,
Aarika, you want to type through us? We can be pen pals. And Fred, I want to add, I think that this primary has showed that there's like a yin yang shaped opening in progressive. I used to consider myself a progressive, and after what just happened, I don't even consider myself a progressive anymore. But by the definition of progressive, I think that a lot of us are, and I think that there's like a yin yang shaped hole there for us, and that we can pull everyone in it from the left and the right.
I don't know.
Yes. Go, Jason.
I'm throwing it back to Teddy Roosevelt on Bull Moose party.
Bull Moose party.
Yeah, and that's
Aarika, did you want to type something and I'll put it on the screen?
All right, who's echoing?
I was going to say that.
Fred, can you mute real quick? I think it's echoing. Testing. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
It was Fred. Go ahead, Aarika.
Oh, Fred, I was saying voting for down ballot candidates is really important. We have all these amazing people running for office, like Heidi, Jermaine. And I just use them as state and going for a state office and a federal office. If we don't vote for, these different positions, then we're never going to get change. So I think for me, like I'm guilty of sometimes forgetting to vote in the primaries or, local elections. So I think being more intentional about that is really important.
Yes, and that go.
Something that Andrew did bring to my attention too is our local news. To I think also getting the local news more involved in how we get our information is also really important, because you have the mainstream media that's also controlling our elections. We experienced that with Andrew and how he was left off of graphics and wasn't getting the proper coverage that he deserves. Even during his Q3, I think that's when he got the 16 million, the December one. He didn't get the recognition that he deserved for that. And he was lasting longer than sitting senators and elected officials, and he still didn't get the coverage. So I think we also need to, I would echo what Fred said, and then add, we need to start giving more support towards our local media.
Well, the problem with local media is they're still owned by the same media conglomerates. There are like 4 major media conglomerates in the United States currently that own like 199 of the 227, I think, different media districts throughout the country. So, I mean, there's not really any independent local news to support. So you need to support people like Heidi who have podcasts, people like Pageant who are out there doing actual reporting, and stuff like that. You need to get your
and
news
that is
from
another thing, like
better sources from the internet, like, or the BBC. Just say fuck mainstream media and go BBC.
So when we were doing like the cringe town hall and we reached out to our local news stations, they actually tweeted back and said, like, Andrew's welcomed here whenever he wants. So I think that they're a little bit more willing to take a candidate on and have those interviews and more than like your mainstream media. Does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense to a degree, but like I saw with like Andrew, he did a local interview in Iowa, and news station was only allowed to put it up on their website. They didn't want it to be broadcast on the TV. It was like this thing where they wanted who's a candidate that you would most like to have a beer with.
Oh yeah,
or something. It was only on the It was only on the station's website. It wasn't actually broadcast.
I think it aired.
But I do think that some of our like the YouTube channels, and I'm just saying, I think there is a bias. Like I'm thinking of a couple of Bernie YouTubers who are super biased, and they're not going to give you a fair shake. So what is really fair?
Yeah, like yesterday, or not yesterday, Monday, I called into the Tim Black TV show. Normally he's on Tuesdays and Fridays, but he came out on Monday. Had people call in because Bernie endorsed Biden. And I was talking about democracy reform, ranked choice voting. We were getting a lot of good comments, talking about democracy dollars, Citizens United. And then the second I mentioned Andrew Yang, I said, first of all, the progressive left, the Democrat Party doesn't take you seriously. They don't have to take you seriously because you're going to have to either vote for whoever they put forward or not vote. And if you don't vote, then obviously Trump's going to win. And the second I talked about Andrew Yang, because I asked Tim Black, I asked him, who do you think you guys are going to put forward? Because Bernie's not going to come in 2024, and he blew up at me, and the chat went from really, really liking what I was saying the second I mentioned Andrew Yang, and I also mentioned Tulsi. I like Andrew Yang and I like Tulsi, and I also, Bernie has some great. So we've got to find a way to bring the progressive left in the fold. And it's got to be without just handing Medicare for all, without killing the private sector too. So it's going to be, we have a lot of work to do. We got a lot of people that we got to talk to.
It's hard for people to respectfully agree to disagree and not be about one person having all of the ideas. I think that about coming together. Like, let's bring the best ideas to the forefront and go with those, regardless of who has those ideas. I think sometimes it's hard for people to detach from the one person that they're supporting. And I'm not gonna lie, like I get very biased when it comes to Andrew at times.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily agree with every little thing, but we have to do better at being able to respectfully agree to disagree, focus on just the policies, and whoever has the best policies, regardless of what party they're in, find common ground and move in that direction. I think that, and I think, Fred, you're absolutely right when you say we have a lot of work to do with that, because people can't even have civil conversations without it going from 0 to 100. And you use the best example. As soon as you said Andrew Yang, why does it have to be, oh my God, like, why does it have to be like this whole reaction? You know, that's unnecessary. So we have to learn to be able to have productive conversations. And that's why kids should be a part of the process. And I like the idea of us having more like, be more intentional in schools about doing government and talking about the civics and giving kids an opportunity to vote at an earlier age, and elected officials being more integrated into the education process.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything that Fred and Aarika have been saying about the need for some kind of common ground and some kind of, you know, civility, and also a pure form of pragmatism. And by that, I mean, I think one of the major downfalls, one of the things that we can learn from the Bernie movement, which is now in a shambles, and it's part of the reason why they're so hostile in this specific moment. We know they've been hostile for a while, but why they're so hostile right now is because the whole thing just fell apart around their ears. And, you know, now they have their guy telling them for the second time. Now they have their guy telling them once again, vote for the establishment guy. You know, unless you are, you know, like you're irresponsible if you don't vote for Biden or whatever. And, you know, frankly, he's right. He is right about that. If you're just talking about the pragmatism of beating Trump, you have to vote for the only other candidate with a significant amount of support who could potentially beat him. I'm sorry. Like, and that sucks because the two-party system is absolute garbage. Like, we should not have this. We should not be in this situation. All that being said, this is the hand we've been dealt. And we need to figure out how to take advantage of the present situation and get what we can out of it and keep pushing. And one of the things that is absolutely not an option is non-participation. We cannot not participate. We cannot throw a fit because our guy didn't get in or because so-and-so doesn't support the, you know, the version. Like, hell, I would vote for a version of a basic income that was a conditional basic income if I thought it got us closer to true UBI. I really don't care that much about the purity of the ideology. I care about getting closer to the goal. And if that person's a Republican, I will vote for them. I don't care. And we need to adopt that attitude, because the fact of the matter is, when Bernie started to go to war with the Democratic Party, he doomed himself to failure. And that's something that I think the Yang gang, because we got screwed by a lot of similar kind of circumstances. I understand the feeling of like, well, fuck the DNC. How dare they? How dare they do what they did to Andrew and to Tulsi and to Bernie? Okay, we can do that, or we can just participate as hard as we can and eventually make them think the way that we do. Those are our two options. We can either turn them into an enemy, in which case they're going to crush us, or we can, through persuasion and strategic actions, change them to be more like us.
The obstacle is the way.
So
we have to lean into
we need to lower the voting age, because by the time kids turn 18 and are able to vote,
I think
they're so used to not voting and they're immediately thrust into college and juggling all those different things. Where if we lowered the voting age to like a 15 or 16 years of age, it would be more ingrained into like their daily life, making sure that they like participate in local elections and stuff like that, and become more politically aware.
Totally.
Because the great thing about people like Bernie and Andrew and Tulsi and all these like far out there candidates that no one thought would had an actual chance in hell is the fact that they spoke to the disenfranchised. They spoke to people who had never voted for because they actually care about those people. So just bringing them in, and then also starting people at a younger age into the participation and just the act of voting is like incredibly important. And why shouldn't a 15-year-old who has a part-time job and pays into Social Security not have a vote? Yeah. Why should, I mean, shit, why not? I mean, hell, half of the 16-year-olds I know are smarter than I am now, and I would trust them more so with our democracy than I would trust myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to add real quick is that this is the kind of participation which I'm trying to encourage, is something that I think conservatives are particularly good at. We're talking about institutional participation. And these are even people who are ideologically opposed to the idea of government at all. And what do? They get into the government and then they intentionally destroy it from the inside. And it is amazing to me that you have people who are on the progressive left who want to use the mechanism of government to affect society-wide change, and then will do anything except for actually participate in the act of governance. You have to show up. Because why are the police the way that the police are? We have all these complaints about police brutality, and they're totally valid. Well, liberals, progressives need to become cops. We need to infiltrate the police. If you want to change something which is corrupted from the inside, you need to corrupt them with your way of thinking. You need to get in there and transform them from the inside, because just making them into an enemy isn't going to work. They've already occupied that territory, and we're ceding this territory to them every time that we choose not to participate in these things. We have to show up. We have to vote, even in elections in which our guy, like, hell, it could be, let's say that, you know, Biden is like a genuinely bad guy, right? Well, then you're left with two bad people running against each other, but one of them is going to have a more favorable, even if slightly, circumstance of what you want to get. So in that situation, you have to vote for the lesser of two evils. And it's not because you approve of him on a personal level. It's because you're trying to accomplish something which is going to take a generation or more to create. The society that we want is a complicated endeavor, and it's just not worth throwing a fit. And then just, you know, we could all just be YouTubers, you know,
like
we can't go it alone.
But we can't. Yeah. And
it's like what you were saying with workism.
A lot of this stuff.
It's like people are identifying themselves as a Democrat or as a Republican. They're not, you know, identifying themselves as a person first. They're identifying themselves as red or blue.
Yeah.
Fred?
No, I was going to say a lot of this stuff may take a good 12 to 20 years to get moving forward. Like, democracy reform is not going to, it may have to happen state by state. And like you're saying, getting involved versus sitting on the sidelines. One of the reasons I like to call into this guy, Anthony Brian Logan. He has a huge following, and he's a conservative. And then I like to call into like Tim Black. I like to call into all these different radio shows and talk to different people.
You're a radio show troll.
Well, I'm not necessarily a troll, because what I will ask people, I will say, if you were given the choice, if you had the choice between Medicare for all or $1,000 a month, I think that a lot of people would choose $1,000 a month over Medicare for all. Now, somebody like Tim Black, somebody on the progressive left might say his rebuttal to that is, well, you can't use $1,000 a month if you're dead, right? Which because your health is poor. But my rebuttal to that is, well, if you're young and you're in school or you're trying to, become a homeowner, you have a family, obviously $1,000 a month, especially if you're married, that's $24,000 a year. I mean, you could be middle class and still make $50,000 between two people, right? So a lot of people with these radio shows, I might be a troll in some instances, because I'll go on to a show where, like he was talking about, you have to infiltrate and you have to speak on things and speak to people in a way where you agree with them probably 80%. Because I agree with Bernie on a lot of things. I don't agree with it on Medicare for all, and I don't agree with on federal jobs guaranteed. But I do agree with him on the bulk of where his heart is at. Just not how to get there. I don't agree with him. But yes, we have to get involved.
Friends
we cannot sit up.
Always accusing Andrew to be that libertarian Trojan condom that's always inserting themselves into places.
What?
This is a family show, Jason.
I know, Jason. God.
What?
Yes. So Fred,
That's a thing, like the libertarian Trojan condom,
oh
right?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if there's a
Moving
lot of
on.
time to explain that, but I'm going to skip over that
Okay.
because I don't know if there's enough time. But first, I wanted to thank Fred. Fred, my family grew up on a trucking business, so I understand how tough that is. So thank you for what you're doing, especially with what the hell's going on right now. I can't imagine having your own trucking business going through all this could be very easy. So thank you for that, for what you do, and that you're multitasking. Like you were changing lanes and talking to us at the same time. Like I don't know how the hell you just did that. But yes, going back to, I mean, the whole, the first thing with the Bernie campaign, I mean, their followers, they need a little time. I mean, imagine how we felt a week after Yang dropped out. Like, they're going to be a little hostile for a little bit. I think a lot of that will
Trojan
wear off.
horse.
Trojan horse, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I'm just kidding. When it comes to what we can get done right away that can bring other people into what we're trying to do, I think that's where it goes back to what we're trying to do with the $2,000 a month emergency UBI. I really think that will resonate with a lot of people from different political backgrounds because
Especially with the Bernie camp.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something where we can find common ground, get this done, and then keep moving forward. So I think that's one big reason. That's why a lot of our focus is on that, because it needs to be done as soon as possible. And we can really get a lot of people on the same page, get something done, and then move forward, hopefully, and accomplish a lot more things. So another big thing I love about Yang Gang, like we don't really care. Most of us don't really care about the recognition. Like we just want to get the things done. We just want the impact. So I feel like over the next week or two, like we're going to be seeing a lot more of this $2,000 a month thing. And that's all. Like I just want it to get done. Like I don't care about the recognition, but we're going to get it done. And again, right now we have the petition up. If you haven't signed the petition, please sign the petition. James Treacle, again, thank you for doing the video. That will be dropping the 18th or the 19th. Keep an eye on that. And then from there, we're just going to keep figuring out next steps and new ways to make an impact, because right now people are suffering. Again, like James said, this is just the beginning. The reason people are protesting in different areas of the country is because they're just barely starting to feel the pressure, and it's only going to get worse. So we can be proactive right now and get these things done for the sake of people that don't even realize that it's going to benefit as much as we know it will. And again, with everybody's help, I really, really think these are things that we can make an impact right now, carry that momentum into the next thing and the next thing, and then just have it snowball. So yes, a lot of politics seems a little fractured right now, but I really think this is something that we can use to create like actual change and then keep it moving forward. So
are we including that Ro Khanna and Tim Ryan like put forth a bill that is basically saying what we are calling for? Because if we like link that, we could definitely get, because Ro worked for Bernie's campaign and was a Bernie surrogate.
Yeah.
We could definitely get the burners on board with that.
Yeah, whatever you think. Like, honestly, again, this isn't something where, hey, it's ours, we can only do it. Like, no, bullshit. It's, hey, however we can get this done, we want the result. We don't care about the recognition. Like, we want to have everybody included. And
right.
like,
if we can get a clip somehow of like of a streamer of Bernie Sanders recommends, $2,000 per month, right? Because that's his number, right?
Yeah.
If somehow we can get that in the video somewhere, I think that would be huge. Even if you don't hear it, you just see it.
I think James has already been working on that. It's something that we
Okay,
discussed like
great.
the initial night and everything.
Great,
so.
because with the burners, I think we can. I think over time we can win a lot. We've already won a lot of burners. I mean, Bernie had less support in 2020 than he did in 2016 because he lost support to Yang and to Tulsi, right? But the
primarily
Bernie
because
guilt,
Heidi left.
People don't like Hillary, it turned out.
Yeah.
the Bernie
People
guilt
hated Hillary.
is a real thing. People, when I talk to a lot of people, they've admitted to me, I really like Yang, but I just feel like I can't bail on Bernie because of 2016.
Yeah.
And, I feel like if we reach out to those people over the course of this next 2.5 years, we'll be able to win a good amount of those people. And given if those people have to choose between Andrew Yang and, let's say, an AOC who's going to bring Medicare for all and Bernie's jobs guarantee, and then you have Andrew Yang here, I think anybody that has more than 2 brain cells is going to pick Andrew Yang over AOC.
Right.
Well, not to dump on AOC too hard. I mean,
She's coming around.
She does care, and she does, she just, she lived a very sheltered life, and she wasn't very cultured, or she wasn't very open to everything like when she first ran and stuff. And she's learning, and she's becoming a better person every day. She's just fighting for what she believes in and how she thought that she could make the world a better place for her community and everything. So we can't dump on her too hard. I mean, if you want to dump on anyone, dump on Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, I was gonna say Yang Gang
You
giving
call me
credit.
personal finance. I love Liz Warren, except for when she's running for president.
Well, she was also a former Republican who was just.
Weren't we all?
Yeah, I'm a former Republican. You calling me out here, Jason? We're gonna fight.
So was I when I was 18.
Seemed like
5 years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Or at least in my head.
It's all good. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. I think this has been super productive. Again, we're at an hour 16. Doesn't even feel like half that. So, again, there's a lot going on. So please keep an eye out for the video that James is going to be dropping. Again, if you're not subscribed to him on YouTube, please subscribe at Treacle Up. Awesome videos, and that should be dropping the 18th or the 19th. The petition is already out. And again, this is just the first couple steps in a long wave of action that we're going to continue until the job gets done. So again, thank everybody for joining us that is watching, and everybody for joining us live here. Anything else before we let everyone go? Does anybody have any other comments?
Yeah, gang.
Sorry, I thought it was a song and not a horse.
Thank you guys. This is like Yang Gang superstars right here. I'm so excited to be on this live stream with you guys. Thank you all for all agreeing to it.
Rank choice voting.
Bike it in. DM me. My back is killing me.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.
How do we hang up?